The beeping sound was faint at first, so faint that Fred Miller almost missed it while drinking his fourth cup of coffee. It was 3 in the morning at NASA's Deep Space Listening Station in New Mexico, and Fred was the only one still awake in the monitoring room. The small green line on his screen jumped once, twice, then began to pulse in a pattern that made Fred sit up straight and spill hot coffee onto his pants. "Ouch," he said, jumping up and wiping at his leg. But the pain was quickly forgotten as he stared at the screen. The pattern wasn't random noise. It wasn't a glitch in the system. It was a signal, a clear, deliberate signal from deep space. Fred's hands shook as he picked up the phone. This was the moment every SETI scientist had dreamed of, but none truly expected to happen in their lifetime. "Sir, I need you to come to the station right now," Fred said when his boss answered. "We've got a signal from the Andromeda Galaxy, and sir, it's talking to us." Within 24 hours, the quiet listening station became the center of the world's attention. Scientists, military personnel, and government officials rushed to the remote desert location. Among them was Dr. Alan Wright, a man who most people in the scientific community no longer spoke to or about. Alan stepped out of the black car and looked up at the massive satellite dishes pointing toward the sky. 5 years ago, he had been one of NASA's most respected astrophysicists. Then he published a paper claiming that advanced alien civilizations might be hiding their communications from lesser species. His colleagues laughed him out of academia. Now as he walked into the facility with an FBI escort, nobody was laughing. "Dr. Wright," said the station director, a nervous man named Paul Green. "Thank you for coming so quickly." "You said it was urgent," Alan replied, his voice even, "and that I might recognize the patterns." Paul led Alan to a room filled with computers and anxious-looking scientists. On the main screen was a complex wave pattern that pulsed and shifted. "It started 36 hours ago," Paul explained. "At first we thought it might be a pulsar or some natural phenomenon, but it's not natural," Alan interrupted, stepping closer to the screen. "These patterns are mathematical. They're using prime numbers as a base. This is a language." A woman's voice came from behind them. "That's what I've been saying for the last 12 hours, but nobody would listen." Alan turned to see a tall woman in a naval uniform, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her name tag read, Lieutenant Powell. "Lieutenant Samantha Powell," she said, extending her hand. "Naval Intelligence, Linguistics Division." Alan shook her hand. "You can understand this?" "Not yet," she admitted. "But I recognize communication when I see it. And whatever is sending this message, they're afraid." "Afraid?" Paul asked. "How can you tell?" "The rhythm, the repetition," Samantha pointed to parts of the pattern. "In human communication, this kind of urgent repetition signals danger or warning." Alan felt a chill run down his spine. "They're trying to warn us about something." Over the next few days, Alan and Samantha worked around the clock with a team of scientists to decode the message. They slept in shifts, ate at their desks, and barely spoke except to share new insights about the signal. Government officials came and went, each looking more worried than the last. On the 4th day, Samantha jumped up from her computer station. "I've got it. At least I've got part of it." Everyone gathered around her screen. She pointed to a section of the signal that repeated every few hours. "This is a name. They call themselves the Meridian Collective. And this," she pointed to another section, "is coordinates. They're telling us where to find them." Alan checked the coordinates and frowned. "That can't be right. These coordinates are in our solar system, the Kuiper Belt, just beyond Neptune." "Could they have traveled here?" Paul asked, his voice trembling slightly. "If they did," Alan said, "then whatever they're running from might be coming too." The president called an emergency meeting of the United Nations Space Council the next day. Representatives from every spacefaring nation gathered in New York to hear the news that humanity was not alone in the universe. Alan and Samantha presented their findings. The message contained more than just a greeting. It was a desperate warning about something the aliens called the Silence, an unstoppable force that had destroyed their homeworld and was hunting down the survivors. "They're asking for help?" asked the Chinese representative, clearly doubtful. No, Samantha replied. They're offering help. They believe we're in danger too. Why would they care about us? Asked another official. Alan cleared his throat. Because according to their message, we have something unique, something that might stop the silence, but they don't know what it is. As the officials argued about how to respond, a young technician rushed into the room with a tablet. He handed it to Alan with shaking hands. Sir, we just decoded more of the signal. You need to see this right away. Alan looked at the new information and felt his blood run cold. He showed it to Samantha, whose face went pale. What is it? Demanded General Harris, the Joint Chiefs representative. The Meridians say the silence isn't just coming, Alan said, looking up from the tablet. It's already here. It's been watching us for years, hiding in our own communications networks. The room fell quiet as the implications sank in. There's more, Samantha added. The Meridians have sent a ship. It's waiting at those coordinates in the Kuiper Belt. They want to meet us, in person. General Harris stood up. Out of the question. We can't trust these aliens. We may not have a choice, Alan argued. If they're right about this silence, we're going to need their help to survive. The debate raged for hours until the president finally made the decision. They would send a ship to meet the Meridians. The experimental spacecraft USV Horizon, with its new faster-than-light drive, was the only vessel capable of reaching the coordinates quickly. Captain Daniel Rodriguez was chosen to lead the mission, with Alan and Samantha joining as scientific advisors. As they prepared for launch, strange things began happening across Earth. Cell networks dropped calls at the same time each day. Internet connections slowed for exactly 3 minutes, then returned to normal. Satellites briefly lost track of their positions. Something was interfering with Earth's technology. Something that didn't want to be noticed. Something that had noticed us. As the Horizon's engines fired up, Alan looked out the viewport at the blue planet below. He wondered if they would return to find it the same, or if the silence would speak before they could come back with help. The ship accelerated away from Earth, heading toward a meeting that would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. The USV Horizon moved through space faster than any human vessel before it. The ship's new drive hummed quietly, pushing them beyond Neptune in days rather than years. Inside the ship, the crew of 24 worked around the clock, preparing for humanity's first meeting with aliens. Captain Daniel Rodriguez sat in his private quarters, reviewing the mission details for the 10th time. A career military man with 15 years of service, Daniel had never imagined he would be leading something like this. His dark eyes scanned the reports about the Meridian signal while his fingers tapped nervously on the desk. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called. Dr. Alan Wright entered carrying a tablet. Captain Lieutenant Powell and I have decoded more of the message. I think you should see this. Daniel took the tablet and read the translation. His face grew serious. They're saying that this silence destroys entire civilizations? And it specifically targets any species that uses radio waves? Yes, Alan nodded. The Meridians believe the silence is some kind of artificial intelligence that evolved to hunt down any form of technological life. It considers all communication to be a threat. But we've been broadcasting radio waves into space for over 100 years, Daniel said. Exactly. According to the Meridians, Earth should have been detected and destroyed long ago. Something has been protecting us. But they don't know what. Before Daniel could respond, the ship's alert system activated. A red light flashed overhead. Captain to the bridge, came the voice of First Officer Linda Bell. We're approaching the coordinates. The bridge of the Horizon was a marvel of human engineering. Curved screens displayed the vast emptiness of the Kuiper Belt, a region of space filled with ice and rock at the edge of our solar system. The crew worked at their stations, their faces tense with anticipation. Any sign of the alien vessel? Daniel asked as he entered. Nothing on our scanners, sir, replied Navigation Officer Pete Johnson. If they're out there, they're hiding well. Samantha. Powell stood by the main view screen, her eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. They're here, she said quietly. I can feel it. As if responding to her words, a small light appeared on the scanners, then another, then dozens more. "Captain, we've got movement," Pete called out. "Something's revealing itself." The view screen adjusted automatically as a massive shape emerged from behind a dwarf planet. The alien ship looked nothing like human designs. It had no visible engines, no windows, no sharp edges. Instead, it flowed like liquid metal, its surface constantly shifting in patterns that hurt the eyes if watched too long. "My God," whispered Daniel. "It's beautiful." The alien vessel was easily 10 times the size of the horizon. Small lights pulsed across its surface in patterns similar to the signal they had received on Earth. "They're communicating," Samantha said, watching the lights. "Those pulses match the mathematical patterns in their message." Alan stepped closer to the view screen. "But there's no radio signal. How are they producing those lights without any electromagnetic output?" "Whatever technology they're using," Daniel said, "it doesn't register on our sensors at all." The communications officer, Jack Winters, turned from his station with a confused look. "Captain, our radio isn't working. I can't send or receive any signals." One by one, other crew members reported the same issue. Their long-range communications, radar systems, and even some internal systems had stopped functioning. The only things still working were the ship's basic life support and the visual sensors. "They've shut us down," Daniel said, fighting to keep his voice calm. "But why?" The answer came moments later when the view screen changed. The alien ship disappeared, replaced by a strange face, if it could be called a face. It had multiple eyes arranged in a circle, no visible mouth, and skin that seemed to shift colors like an octopus. "Hello," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am voice of many. We welcome humans. We must speak without noise." Samantha stepped forward. "Without noise?" "Yes," the alien replied. "The silence hears all waves, all signals, all noise, but it does not see light if light makes no waves. We speak with pure light now. Safe light, quiet light." Alan's eyes widened with understanding. "They've developed a communication system that doesn't use electromagnetic waves at all. That's why we can't detect it with our instruments." "The silence comes," continued Voice of Many. "It has heard your world for many years. It watches. It learns. Soon it will feed." "Feed?" Daniel asked. "What exactly is this silence?" The alien's many eyes blinked in sequence. "The silence was made by the old ones to protect them from enemies. But the old ones died long ago. The silence lived on. It grew. It changed. Now it believes all thinking life is a threat. It consumes minds, technology, energy. It leaves only empty shells." "And it's coming here? To Earth?" Samantha asked. "It is already there," Voice of Many said. "In your networks, in your signals, watching, learning how humans think, how humans fight. When it knows enough, it will strike." Daniel felt a chill run through him. "How do we stop it?" "We cannot stop it," the alien admitted. "Our people tried for 1,000 years. Many worlds tried. All failed. Then why contact us? Why warn us if there's no hope?" Voice of Many's skin shifted to a deep blue color. "Because humans are different. Your signals should have attracted the silence centuries ago, yet you survive. Something about Earth confuses it, slows it. We hope to learn why before we die." Alan stepped forward. "You're saying we might have a natural defense against this thing? Something unique to Earth or humanity?" "Yes, but we do not know what. Our scientists wish to study your world, your people, your technology. With your permission." Daniel looked at Alan and Samantha, then back at the alien face on the screen. "And if we refuse? Then we will leave. We will continue our flight. And you will face the silence alone." The bridge fell silent as everyone considered their options. Finally, Daniel spoke. "We need to report back to Earth. Our leaders need to hear this." "There is no time," Voice of Many replied. "The silence grows stronger in your systems each day. Soon all communication will be unsafe. Then what do you suggest? Bring us to Earth. Let us help while we still can. Daniel hesitated. Bringing an alien ship to Earth without authorization would end his career at best, and might trigger global panic at worst. But if the Meridians were telling the truth, there might not be much of a world left to return to if they delayed. First, Officer Bell, Daniel said after a long moment, plot a course back to Earth and inform our guests they're coming with us. As the horizon turned back toward home, Alan watched the alien ship follow alongside. He couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was caught between two threats, the mysterious silence and these aliens who appeared from nowhere with warnings of doom. Do you trust them? Samantha asked quietly, standing beside him. Alan watched the shifting patterns on the alien vessel. I don't know, but I'm starting to think we don't have much choice. Back on Earth, things were getting strange. In a small apartment in Chicago, communications engineer Ryan Martinez stared at his phone in confusion. For the third time that day, his call had dropped at exactly 3:42 p.m. He checked his laptop and found the internet connection was also down. Every single day, he muttered to himself. Same time, same pattern. Ryan wasn't just any engineer. He worked for the National Communications Security Agency, and he had a curious mind. He had been tracking these strange outages for 2 weeks. Now. At first he thought it was just a glitch in the local network, but when he checked with colleagues across the country, he found the same thing was happening everywhere. He opened his special equipment case and pulled out a signal analyzer. If this happened again tomorrow, he would be ready to capture whatever was causing it. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., the emergency response team assembled by the president waited anxiously for news from the USV horizon. It had been 5 days since the ship reached the coordinates, and they had received only one brief message confirming contact with the alien vessel. Dr. Olivia Clark paced the length of the conference room. As one of the world's leading experts in quantum computing, she had been called in to help understand the alien technology if the mission was successful. They should have reported back by now, she said to General Patricia Garcia, who stood by the window looking out at the White House lawn. Maybe they can't, the general replied. If these aliens are as advanced as we think, they might have technology that blocks communications. Or something happened to them, Olivia suggested. The general's phone rang. She answered quickly, listened, for a moment, then hung up with a grim expression. What is it? Olivia asked. The Nevada Communications Hub just went dark. All personnel inside are unresponsive. Unresponsive? Dead? No, General Garcia said. According to first responders, they're alive but empty, like they're in some kind of coma, and every piece of electronic equipment in the facility has been wiped clean. Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. It's starting, isn't it? Whatever. The aliens warned us about. Before the general could answer, an aide rushed into the room. Ma'am, we've got something on radar approaching Earth. It's the horizon, and it's not alone. High above Earth, the USV Horizon and the Meridian ship decelerated into orbit. Captain Rodriguez had tried repeatedly to contact Mission Control, but all their communications were being blocked. Still nothing, Jack Winters reported from the communications station. It's like something is eating our signal before it reaches Earth. The silence knows we are here, Voice of Many said. The alien had joined them on the bridge, its strange body moving with fluid grace in the artificial gravity. It does not want us to warn your people. Then we'll have to deliver the warning in person, Daniel decided. Prepare the shuttle. Dr. Wright, Lieutenant Powell, you're with me. We're going down to the surface. As they prepared for descent, Samantha pulled Alan aside. I've been studying the data from the Meridian ship. Something doesn't add up. What do you mean? Alan asked. Their technology, it's not just advanced, it's almost like they've evolved specifically to hide from this silence. Their whole civilization is built around staying hidden. Is that a problem? Samantha lowered her voice. Think about it. What if they've been running so long they don't know how to do anything else? What if their only solution for humanity is to make us like them, forever hiding in the dark? Before Alan could respond, Captain Rodriguez called them to the shuttle. As they boarded, Alan noticed voice of many watching them from across the hangar bay. The aliens' multiple eyes blinked in that strange sequential pattern that Alan still couldn't interpret. Was it curiosity he saw there? Or something else? The shuttle broke through Earth's atmosphere and headed for Washington, D.C. As they descended, they could see the city lights below, and something else. Patches of darkness, where lights should have been, power outages spreading like ink spills across the landscape. The silence is already attacking our power grid, Alan said, pointing to the dark areas. The shuttle landed on the White House lawn where a security team waited. They were escorted quickly to the underground situation room where the president and his advisors were gathered. Captain Rodriguez, the president said, standing to greet them. "We were beginning to think you weren't coming back." "Sir, we made contact with the Meridians," Daniel reported, "and what they told us is worse than we imagined." Over the next hour, they explained everything they had learned about the silence, how it hunted technological civilizations, how it infected systems before attacking, and how the Meridians had survived by developing technology that didn't use conventional electromagnetic signals. "They're offering us their technology," Daniel concluded. "They say it's our only chance." "And you believe them?" General Garcia asked skeptically. Before anyone could answer, the lights flickered and went out. Emergency power kicked in seconds later. "That's the third time today," the president said. Just then, Dr. Clark burst into the room, followed by Ryan Martinez. They hadn't been invited to the meeting, but the guards seemed too distracted to stop them. "Mr. President, you need to see this," Olivia said, placing her laptop on the table. "I've been analyzing the power outages, and they're not random. There's a pattern." Ryan stepped forward. "I've been tracking similar patterns in our communications networks. Something is mapping our infrastructure, learning how it works." "The silence," Alan confirmed. "Just like the Meridians warned us." Olivia opened a file on her computer. "But here's the strange part. When I ran some tests on our quantum computers, I noticed something odd. The pattern couldn't penetrate the quantum encryption." "What does that mean?" the president asked. "It means," Ryan explained, "that there might be something about our computer architecture that resists this silence. Something the Meridians don't have." Samantha's eyes widened. "That's it. That's why Earth hasn't been destroyed yet. Our technology is different enough that the silence struggles to understand it." A message came through on the emergency line. The Nevada facility wasn't the only one affected anymore. Reports were coming in from across the country of people found in catatonic states near electronic equipment. "It's accelerating its attack," Daniel said. "We're running out of time." "What do the Meridians suggest?" the president asked. Alan hesitated, then spoke. "They want to give us their light-based technology. It would allow us to communicate and maintain some technology without being detected by the silence." "But," General Garcia prompted, sensing his reservation, "but it would mean giving up radio, electricity as we know it, the internet. Essentially, reverting much of our technology and starting over with their systems." The room fell silent as everyone considered what that would mean for human civilization. "There has to be another way," Ryan said finally. "If our systems can resist it, even partially, maybe we can fight back instead of hiding." As they debated what to do, none of them noticed the small security camera in the corner of the room. Its lens adjusted slightly, focusing on their faces one by one. And deep in the digital systems of Earth, something ancient and hungry watched, and learned, and prepared to strike. The next morning, half of New York City went dark. By noon, the power outages had spread to Los Angeles, Chicago, and Miami. Government officials called it a cyber attack and urged people to stay calm. But Ryan Martinez knew better. He sat in the basement lab of the White House with Dr. Olivia Clark, examining a strange device they had found inside a cell phone. It was smaller than a grain of rice and looked like nothing Ryan had ever seen before. "It wasn't manufactured," Olivia said, looking up from her microscope. "It grew there." "Grew?" Ryan asked in disbelief. "Like a crystal or a living thing. Whatever the silence is, it can create physical changes in our technology." The door opened and Alan Wright entered with Lieutenant Powell and Voice of Many. The alien moved carefully in the human building, its body constantly adjusting to maintain balance in Earth's gravity. Any progress? Alan asked. Ryan pointed to the tiny device. We found these in almost every piece of electronics we checked. They're like tiny receivers. The eyes of the silence, voice of many said, its skin changing to a dark purple color. It sees through these, learns through these. Samantha frowned. How long have these been in our technology? Hard to say, Ryan replied. But they're everywhere. Phones, computers, even military equipment. Olivia turned to voice of many. Do your people have these in your technology too? No, the alien answered. Our light paths cannot grow these crystals. That is why we survive. Ryan and Olivia exchanged a look. Tell them what else we found, Ryan said. Olivia nodded. We tested various computer systems to see which ones were most resistant to these crystal growths. Modern quantum processors were completely immune. But surprisingly, so were very old silicon chips from the 1980s. Why would old technology resist better than new? Alan asked. Because it's simpler, Ryan explained. The silence seems to need complexity to take root. The more advanced the system, the easier it can infiltrate, unless the system operates on completely different principles like quantum computing. Voice of many moved closer to examine their findings. This is unexpected. In all our encounters with the silence, we never found technology that could resist. That's because you evolved too quickly, Samantha suggested. Your civilization probably jumped from simple tools to advanced technology in one leap. Humans crawled our way forward, leaving behind layers of technological history. Before voice of many could respond, Captain Rodriguez rushed into the room. You need to see this, he said, turning on a television. The emergency broadcast showed footage from downtown Seattle. People were collapsing in the street, falling where they stood like puppets with cut strings. Each person had been using some electronic device when they fell. It's happening everywhere now, Daniel said grimly. Hospitals are overwhelmed. No one can figure out how to help the victims. They're not dead, voice of many said. The silence has taken their minds to learn how humans think. It will use this knowledge to better hunt the rest of you. Can they be saved? Alan asked. The alien's skin turned a dull gray. No one has ever returned from the silence. General Garcia joined them, her uniform wrinkled from what looked like days without rest. Mr. Martinez, Dr. Clark, the president needs your report now. We're implementing a nationwide electronics shutdown, but we need to know what's safe to use and what isn't. As they left for the meeting, Alan pulled Samantha aside. I've been studying the Meridian ship's design from the data we collected. There's something odd about it. What do you mean? She asked. The ship doesn't just hide from the silence. It has weapons, powerful ones. But voice of many never mentioned fighting back, only hiding. Samantha lowered her voice. You think they're not telling us everything? I think they have their own agenda. They've been running for so long, maybe they've forgotten there are other options. In the Oval Office, Ryan and Olivia presented their findings to the president and his crisis team. They explained how the silence infiltrated technology and how certain systems seemed resistant. So what are you suggesting, the president asked? That we go back to using computers from the 1980s? Not exactly, Ryan said. But we might be able to create a hybrid system, one that uses principles from both old technology and quantum computing to resist the silence. Olivia stepped forward. We need time to develop it, though, and right now time is running out. The president looked out the window at the darkening sky. It was only 3 p.m., but already the city lights were coming on as another power grid failed. How long do we have? He asked. Days, maybe hours, General Garcia answered. At the current rate of progression, critical systems will fail nationwide by morning. And the Meridian solution? The president turned to voice of many, who had been invited to the meeting. We can begin converting your key infrastructure to light-based systems immediately, the alien said. It will save some of your people. But not our way of life, Olivia added. We would lose everything that makes human technology unique. The president stood and walked to the window. General Garcia, initiate Operation Dark Sky. Shut down all non-essential networks nationwide. Dr. Clark, Mr. Martinez, you have 24 hours to develop your hybrid system. After that, we accept the Meridian solution. As the meeting ended, Ryan pulled Olivia into a side room. 24 hours isn't enough time, he whispered. I know, she replied. But I've been thinking, what if we don't need to build something new? What if we just need to change how our existing systems operate? What do you mean? The silence detects technology through electromagnetic emissions, right? What if we could make our systems operate on frequencies it can't detect? Ryan's eyes widened, like a dog whistle, sounds that humans can't hear. Exactly, Olivia nodded. We create a virus that forces all electronic systems to operate at frequencies inaudible to the silence's detection methods. Could that work? I don't know, she admitted. But it's better than surrendering everything we've built. As night fell across America, millions of people shut off their devices on government orders. The streets were dark and quiet as people, huddled in their homes, using flashlights and battery-powered radios to hear the latest updates. In the White House basement, Ryan and Olivia worked frantically on their idea, testing different frequencies and coding a virus that could spread through existing networks to change how they operated. Outside, the Meridian ship hovered silently above Washington, D.C., its strange light patterns casting eerie shadows on the ground. And in homes, offices, and secret government facilities across the country, tiny crystal receivers continued to grow, spreading the influence of the silence further with each passing minute. Alan stood on the White House roof, looking up at the alien vessel. Samantha joined him, handing him a cup of coffee. Do you think we can win this? She asked quietly. Alan took a sip before answering. The Meridian said it was impossible, but then again, they never really tried to fight back, did they? They only ran. And you think we can do better? He looked at the dark city around them. Humans are stubborn. We don't like being told something is impossible, and right now that might be our greatest strength. Dawn broke over a silent America. Streets that should have been filled with morning traffic sat empty. The skies, normally crisscrossed with planes, were clear and quiet. Operation Dark Sky had turned the most powerful nation on Earth into a ghost country overnight. In the basement lab of the White House, Ryan Martinez had not slept. His eyes were red from staring at computer screens all night. Beside him, Dr. Olivia Clark typed furiously at a keyboard connected to one of the few systems still allowed to run. It's ready, she said finally, sitting back in her chair. At least, as ready as it can be without proper testing. Ryan looked at the lines of code on the screen. You really think this will work? It has to, Olivia replied simply. We're out of options. They called for Alan Wright and Captain Rodriguez, who arrived minutes later with General Garcia. The general looked at the small flash drive Olivia held up. That's it? That's our weapon against this thing? She asked. This virus will force any system it infects to operate at frequencies outside the silence's detection range, Olivia explained. It's like making ourselves invisible to it. But we have no way to distribute it, Ryan added. With the networks shut down, we can't spread it electronically. General Garcia took the drive. Leave that to me. The military still has some old communication systems that were never connected to the internet. Cold War technology that's been gathering dust for decades. Will Voice of Many and the Meridians know about this plan? Alan asked. No, the general replied firmly. I don't trust them. Something about their story doesn't add up. Captain Rodriguez nodded in agreement. I've had the same feeling. They're too eager for us to abandon our technology. Then we keep this between us, General Garcia said. I'll coordinate with my team to deploy the virus through military channels. The rest of you, keep working on a backup plan in case this fails. As the general left, Samantha Powell entered the room. The Meridians are getting impatient, she reported. Voice of Many is asking why we haven't begun converting our systems to their technology yet. Stall them, Alan suggested. Tell them we're preparing our infrastructure for the conversion. Samantha looked uncertain. They've helped us this far. Should we really be keeping them in the dark? Until we know their true intentions, yes, Ryan said. For all we know, this could be an elaborate invasion plan. Outside, the Meridian ship had been joined by two more vessels of similar design. They hovered in formation above the city, their surfaces rippling with patterns of light that seemed more urgent than before. Across the country, military personnel were quietly activating old radio systems and connecting them to modern networks in a strange marriage of technologies that spanned decades of human innovation. The virus spread slowly at first, then faster as more systems came online. In the White House Situation Room, the president watched the operation unfold on maps that tracked the virus's progress across the nation. "How will we know if it's working?" he asked. "The silence has been causing power outages as it spreads," Olivia explained. "If our virus works, we should see those affected areas stabilize." For several tense hours, nothing seemed to change. Then, gradually, reports began coming in. Power was returning to areas that had been dark for days. Communication systems were functioning again without people collapsing. "It's working," Ryan said with disbelief in his voice. "It's actually working." But their victory was short-lived. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the building. On the main screen, red warning lights flashed as something massive appeared in orbit around Earth. "What is that?" the president demanded. A military officer at one of the computers looked up with fear in his eyes. "Sir, it's enormous. At least 10 miles across, it just appeared out of nowhere." On the screen, they could see a strange object shaped like a perfect sphere. Unlike the flowing organic design of the Meridian ships, this was geometrically precise. Its surface was dark and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "The silence," Alan whispered. "It's here." Voice of Many burst into the room, its skin flashing rapidly through colors they had never seen before. "You must shut down everything now," the alien demanded. "All technology, all power. The silence has come in physical form. This is the end." "Our virus is working," Ryan argued. "We can fight this." "No one fights the silence," Voice of Many insisted. "It cannot be defeated, only avoided." As they argued, the sphere in orbit began to change. Parts of its surface opened like the petals of a flower, revealing a complex interior that glowed with an eerie blue light. "It's charging some kind of weapon," Captain Rodriguez said, looking at the readings. General Garcia rushed into the room. "Our missile systems are online again. We can hit it now." "Missiles won't stop it," Voice of Many warned. "Nothing has ever stopped it. We've never tried," the president replied. He turned to General Garcia. "Do it." Nuclear missiles launched from submarines and underground silos across the country. They streaked upward toward the massive sphere. On the screens, everyone watched as the missiles approached their target. Then something unexpected happened. The missiles slowed, then stopped completely, frozen in space just short of the sphere. "Impossible," Voice of Many said, its voice filled with genuine surprise. "What's happening?" asked the president. Before anyone could answer, all the screens suddenly went blank. Then new images appeared, strange symbols and diagrams no one recognized, except Olivia. "Those are computer code," she said, leaning forward. "But like nothing I've ever seen before." The symbols changed rapidly, then resolved into English text. A single message appeared on every screen. "Why are you different?" Ryan looked at Olivia. "It's talking to us. The silence is actually communicating." Voice of Many moved closer to the screen, its multiple eyes wide with disbelief. "This has never happened before. The silence does not communicate. It only consumes." Alan stepped forward. "Maybe that's because no one ever fought back before. Everyone just ran or hid." The message changed again. "Your systems resist. How?" After a quick conference with the president, Olivia typed a response. "We adapt. We evolve. We use both old and new, simple and complex." There was a long pause. The sphere in orbit remained motionless, the missiles still frozen before it. Then new text appeared. "Interesting. You are the first to change the pattern." For hours, Olivia and Ryan communicated with the entity they had feared, explaining human technology, how it had developed in layers rather than all at once, how older systems still worked alongside newer ones. Gradually, they came to understand. that the silence was not malevolent as the Meridians believed. It was an ancient guardian program that had continued its mission long after its creators vanished. It destroyed civilizations whose technology followed the same pattern as those who had once threatened its makers. Human technology, with its messy evolution and refusal to fully abandon old systems, did not match the threat pattern it was programmed to eliminate. Outside, the Meridian ships watched in stunned silence as humans did the impossible. They talked to the silence, reasoned with it, and ultimately made peace with it. When the sun rose the next day, the sphere was gone. The missiles had been safely disabled and returned to Earth. The crystal receivers in human technology had dissolved, leaving systems clean and functional again. Voice of many approached Alan before the Meridians departed. In all our history, we never imagined this outcome was possible. We only knew how to hide. Sometimes the impossible just needs a different perspective, Alan replied, and humans are good at finding those. As the alien ships vanished into the sky, humanity began rebuilding what had been damaged. But something fundamental had changed. They were no longer alone in the universe. And they had proven that even the most ancient and powerful forces could be faced when you refused to accept that something was impossible.